Do you like to shop on Wish.com? Well, we're gonna pee in your pool. Today, we're comparing the Taggedout. Well, since we already have them unboxed, I was gonna say we can start with something's up with this fake box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good tactical box.
Yeah, I mean, it's for a Black Series box, it's one of the better fake ones I've seen. It's still quite obviously fake, but you know, we deal with a lot of them. So anyway, box. And then, well, I mean, we state the obvious that the coloring is way off. It's a matte orange as opposed to a vibrant orange, like basically a hunting orange.
I was
So
going
it's
to say
like my
that's
middle school basketball.
yeah, it's more of like a basketball texture versus not texture, color versus like Harley.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate to say Harley, but like that's
No, I mean,
that's the color.
you say Harley orange, people know Harley Davidson orange, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you just want someone to be able to have like a full visual inspection without having to take it apart, I mean, there's a couple of obvious things that stick out. The pivot, that's a T8, that's a T10, as far as the torque size. The standoffs are a different color. So on the fake, the standoffs are black and non-contoured, whereas on the real one, they're orange with a relief into them. Anodized aluminum, obviously. The choil is smaller.
It's non-existent.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a choil there. It's, you know, if you didn't have them next to each other, it might be hard to, but if you look at where the grind line intersects, so the blade starts after the grind line on the real one, and the blade starts with the grind line. The choil on the.
I'd also point out on the fake one and versus the real is that the Taggedout is not a recurve blade, but this one is. It's got a little subtle recurve
It's a
to
bit
it.
swoopier here. This is a little bit
I
straighter.
think
of a
he's
line.
talking about it's got a little bit of an in there,
Yeah.
so that's a little
yeah.
straight. That's got a little bit of a relief. I guess I could see that. The contouring's a bit different too. The real one's much more contoured, much more rounding. Someone spent a lot more time in AutoCAD designing the mold for the plastic.
The thumb hole seems smaller on this one too.
Another big one is that Benchmade logos, unless it's think like pre-2015, will always be black, unless it's a Cerakoted or coated blade of some sort. And this is poorly lasered in brown, and you can feel it, whereas you can't feel the Benchmade logo.
Yeah, I have a hard time wondering. I wonder about the rationale. Maybe it's because we've had a lot of shady people in Alaska who take blades and then buff off somebody's logo and then put their own logo on it. So,
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Well, so I always make sure, like when we do our knives, I make sure you can feel the logo because I don't want anybody buffing it off and using our knives. So I mean, I don't necessarily understand the rationale behind that.
Maybe their process is harder to replicate.
I mean, I can do this. All I got to do is take this setting and tone it down by 50%, and it makes that. But
I like the way you mark our knives because it's indelible.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're going to destroy the knife taking it out.
exactly, yeah, you're gonna mess up the grind taking it out. But taking it apart, I mean, you'll see in the B-roll shots that the barrel nut on the backside of the pivot. Will pointed out that it's domed on the real one, flat on the fake, and internally, this has a flat spot on the barrel nut that is the anti-spin, so we
Yeah,
can put it together.
anti-rotation.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas this one is a fully round barrel nut, so it doesn't stop.
You've got some extra jimping on the front here that's not on that side too.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's more contoured on the real scale than this one. It's just like they had a 2D picture to look at to make this.
Yeah, you can kind of see. Is it top-down camera?
Yep.
Oh, okay. You can kind of see how flat and squared off the scales are versus how contoured they are here. It's another carryover from how big the contour is here and how small it is here.
And then another big difference, which if you go to a place and you're buying it in person, like a swap meet or something, they're not going to let you do this. But this is not fiber reinforced plastic. This is just straight plastic or PVC that's been injection molded.
Which you could tell when we took it apart in the B-roll. Also, the placement of the clip. If you look, the clip overhangs the ass end on the fake, whereas it doesn't on the real one.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something like without taking it apart, you'd be able to tell pretty easily. The Omega springs are different sizes too. You can see in the B-roll. The Omega Springs are the small. So Benchmade uses 2 different sizes of Omega Springs as far as I can tell. I've never seen a third size. So there's the big and the small. This is interchangeable with the OEM Benchmade small ones, but it shouldn't be. This uses the larger Omega Spring variant.
Which is what makes it snappier, right? You're supposed to be able to just kind of flick it out.
Yeah.
Which I never can open brand new Benchmades, and that just went.
The Taggedout's a little funny. That thumb hole there. It's not the easiest one to flip out.
Yeah. I said I did good, you know.
Oh, okay. All right.
Pat myself on the back, you know. Blow my shoulder out.
I'm trying to think. Was there anything else you remember? Nylon washers in the fake as opposed to phosphor bronze in the real.
Which is not a huge deal. Like the cost savings there is like negligible. It's the same machining equipment.
It is.
So like, why?
It is weird some of the decisions they made that don't necessarily save money. But the big difference is going to be the Rockwell. So we did Rockwell the fake. Does anyone want to guess? I mean, I can't, but
43.
oh man, that's kind of what I would think too. But no, they're a little bit better than that. So.
You ready?
All right, what do we got?
55 and a half.
55.
Oh wow.
55 and a half. It is a wrench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically does not qualify as a hand tool in the United States.
It 54.
Oh, 54 is a hand tool?
Yeah.
I thought 57 was a hand tool. Okay, anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, so no, it does qualify as a crescent wrench, but it doesn't qualify as a knife. I mean, if you wanted edge retention as the same as like a factory-made high carbon knife from back in the 40s, then yeah, it worked great.
Well, and I mean, and at those numbers, even if it is S30V or 154 as they claim, oh man, and it sounds like trash too.
All the screws stripped out when we took it apart and put it back together. There's actually one falling out the back. That one.
Sweet.
But yeah, the barrels in there aren't threaded. They're slightly too small, so the screws kind of press fit in there.
Press fit.
Yeah.
And then when you undid it, there's no
So
threads.
it's a self-tapper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the overall quality just in general is like, all right, it'll probably work, but if you ever have to take it apart, then it's kind of done. You're not going to be able to put it back together and get any kind of useful knife out of the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to mention, how much was this on Alley?
I can't remember off the top of my head. We buy a lot of fakes.
I
Yeah.
think it was closer to 70.
No, this one
No.
this one was cheaper than that. This one was sub $30.
Okay.
And I didn't cheap out. I always try to buy the nicest fake I
looking
can.
one.
So
Yeah.
I didn't cheap out and just buy the $30 fake when if there was a $70 one available, I would have bought it. Because I've seen you can buy a $25 Halo 5.
Yeah.
And you can buy a $180 Halo 5. And there's a quite noticeable difference. The $180 Halo 5 is, I mean, we don't do a video on it because I don't know how to tell.
Wow.
Like serial number is the best way to tell. Like
Yeah.
you Google Halo 5 fake, and then you look at all the pictures that show up from DHgate and
Yeah,
AliExpress
and they're all
and
at the
Wish.com,
same serial number.
and you look at those serial numbers, and that's but I mean even to the point where they both weigh 184 grams.
Jesus.
So like they're dead nuts on. So if you want a Halo 5, good luck.
Yeah, overall, this just seemed like cost savings across the board. Throw something on the market, see how many people we get to buy it, make a couple hundred units, and if those sell, we'll make more.
Yeah, and these are already not showing up very much anymore. The green one, the new green one, which is funny because before the green one was released from Benchmade, they had already started making green ones. You can get ones with orange blades and shit like that, but they're obviously not. They're obvious fakes because if you get a green blade, you're not getting it from Benchmade.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
And it looks to me that I didn't notice this before, but that blade is thicker. The gap in those scales is different.
it
Really,
is
the
also the
fake is
scales are
thicker?
thicker.
It looks like the fake is thicker. Am I crazy?
No, the scales are thicker and the blade is thicker.
I see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so if you want a Wish.com knife,
Yeah.
You're
take
gonna
it
wish you
apart.
had.
On
don't take it apart.
on that high note, if you guys see anything on Timu, T-I-M-U, is that how it is?
TEMU, isn't it?
Yeah, Timu.
Yeah. Timu?
Why are you looking?
Shop
what
like
the
a
hell's
billionaire.
Yeah,
You're the one who
yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, if you see anything on there or wish.com that you just absolutely want us to pick apart, send us the link.
If you guys have any
Yeah.
suggestions,
Yeah,
I mean,
seriously.
we have probably 30 more of these fake knives in the chamber that we're going to be releasing over the course of the next year. But we might already have it. But if we don't, I'd be happy to take suggestions on any other fakes you guys would like us to debunk.
Or if you guys find something on there knife-wise that's super interesting and you want us to tear it apart and just have a fun time with it,
Or at
we'll-
least Rockwell it.
yeah, we'll at least break it.
I mean, that's kind of how this started. Is do you guys know Direware? They make really high-end, like, custom folders.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of badass folders. And a guy brought in a fake Direware one time, and he asked me to sharpen it. And he goes, "Yeah, it's a fake." He goes, "But at least they use D2." It's like, why would you think they would do that? Why would they use D2? So that's kind of why we Rockwell them, is because people say that shit. They're like, "Oh, well, yeah, but so what? You know, it's still D2 steel." Like, well, it might be, but if you don't Rockwell it correctly, or if you don't heat treat it correctly, then it ain't anything.
Yeah.
mean-
And for a hunting knife, I mean, you get halfway through the belly of a caribou and you got to sharpen it again. You're probably not going to be happy.
You'd not make it through an entire animal in Alaska with this knife.
No.
The hair alone, just
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Moose hide alone would be done.
Done.
And then you'd take it apart, and then you wouldn't be able to get it back together.
you have bad experience.
And then blah blah blah, fade to black.